Hi, my name is Ron Lehman. I'm from the Faux School in Frederick, Maryland, where I teach decorative painting workshops and complete commission projects for clients all around the country and beyond. Today I'm going to show you a simple technique that we call waterfall. So let's get our tools, let's get our materials, and let's get started. To get started for today's technique, what I've done is I've base coated the surface. This time I'm using my quartz primer. Not mine, I'm using quartz primer. Interior, exterior, water-based, cleans up with soap and water. You can tint it with pigments if you so choose. Never use paint. Paint is not a material to change colors with. It'll destroy the product. So use pigment, just like the pigment you get at the paint store. But this, you don't need to. I'm going to go right over white. Now, we're going to be working with, where'd it go? Here it is. The Grisello lime-based polishing plaster. Commonly referred to as Venetian plaster, but it's much more than that. We'll get into a whole other discussion about that later. But this is 100% pure lime, tinted to a beautiful dark blue. Can you see that in there? It's fabulous. Okay, so the Grisello plaster, interior, exterior. Don't put it on thick. If you put it on thick, it will crack when it dries, and you cannot control the size of the crack, so be very, very careful. And it's not a decorative crack, because what happens when a plaster cracks, it causes it to lose adhesion with the substrate, and it will flake and peel off. That's why we're using the quartz primer, because it's a compatible primer to the lime plaster. So I've tinted it using my Mixaws, pretty much Mixaw, I think it's the number 9, just straight blue. And then I threw a little bit of purple in there, just to give it some punch. Alright, so what we're going to do is let's lay down the base coat. This is a little bit different. This is a decorative finish, great for accent walls. Spatula, trowel. Alright, I'm going to load up our trowel. Now before you see me try to work it out a certain way to get it real nice and clean and uniform and even, this time, look how blue that is. It's almost like ultramarine. I want to come top to bottom. A lot of people refer to this in the workshop. I don't know, I just give it a number, but they say it kind of has the effect of a waterfall when it's on the wall. Now, if I'm doing a big giant wall, I will start at the bottom and come up like so, because when I leave off, when the trowel lifts off, it leaves this trowel mark. So then when you come back from top to bottom, and you pull away, it's coming down, not up. So it's working to our advantage, right? So we're going to do our first coat, 100% coverage. Doesn't have to be super perfect, uniform, and smooth. Get as close as you can. But we don't want to see a whole lot of movement. This is, like I said, not a traditional finish. Decorative. Keep gathering it up every so often. I'm just going to come back, bang. Now, this will have to dry 100% before we can move on. And I need just a hair more. For this technique, it must dry 100%. So, that's where we're at. Now, all I'm going to do, make sure is there's a... actually, I'm not worried about it. There's a couple trowel lines here and there, but you're going to see that's going to work for it in our favor for this finish. So, let's let this dry. We'll see in just a little bit. Okay, so the base coat is dried. Let's take a look at it. It's actually not completely dried. I did this intentionally. Can you see it right here? Right there? Maybe that's a little bit better spot. See, it's darker. This plaster, Grisello, will dry about 50% lighter than when it's wet. 40 to 50%. So when you're making your colors, always make a dry sample. Don't just mix it up in a container and go, oh, I like the way that looks. Let's throw it on the wall, and you come back after, lunch or something. It's like, what happened to that? Always make a dry sample. Remember, always tint lime plaster with lime-compatible tints. For that, you could use Mixaws in the oxide series. That's the red cap, so you can use powdered pigments or dry colors. But you got to make sure they're lime stable. There's a lot of dry colors out there that are not lime stable, so always check with the manufacturer. All right, moving on. Let's get to it. We're going to take our same blue plaster. This time, no trowel. We're going to just use our good old Pavon spatula. I'll put some plaster just on, I'll show you here in a second, I'm loading it up. So I have that on there, just a little bit on there, on the top. What I do is I'm going to hold this flat, pretty much flat against the surface, and start to pull it down. It's gonna take a while. Now, bigger wall, bigger tool, bigger spatula. All right, but it's gonna start to create this really cool. See how it just lays it on there? Some of it's catching heavier than other areas, some of it's not. Just fine. We want a very organic look, so we're going to stagger some stuff. Sometimes you can even use various width spatulas, so we don't create this pattern, very distinct looking pattern that we might end up with. See, some of the hair will come down. See, it's a little heavier up here. This is the idea. So heavier up here, and as it comes down, the material obviously catches the surface and starts to leave less and less. So it looks like a nice deteriorated wall. We're far from finished. Oh, too much material in there, but that's not a big deal. We can leave it a little heavier. Just don't flatten it. I don't want it crushed. I don't want to smash it down and compress it. Because then it'll just look like even a big glob up here, I'm okay with it, because that's part of the, it's what we're going for in some areas. I'm going to fill it in. So it's almost like a plaster wall that's another type of wall that's deteriorated over time. We should go let this dry. Nah, not really. We can play. Go back and forth. These areas I need to dry a little bit more before I get too involved into the next layer. But you know what? Let's see what happens. First coat in the books. Clean our blade. We're going to take the white base straight out the can. Just right here. Clean off another blade. Same thing. Let's put some white on here. You should be able to see it better now. See how that lays on there, nice and simple. It's okay because we're gonna let some of this stuff like blend together, making a new color. So we're gonna have some hints of some blue, some of the white, and we want some of this to smear together. So we'll grab some more. Yeah. Remember, that blue is like, oh my God, that's really electric. It's bright. I don't like that. It will dry lighter. Remember that, okay? Now I'm going to clean my blade because I don't want the new mixture of color to go. I want to keep laying my white in. I'm just going to keep building this across the surface. Like so. And then I'll come back and blend them all in. Now this will probably crack because I'm getting it pretty thick in some of these spots, like that one I just laid on there. That's real heavy. So it's kind of just... We need some balance over here maybe, huh? It's a little strong. But then again, it's okay. I'm okay with that, but I definitely want some more white on that side. And the cracking won't hurt anything on this one. I know you're like, well, earlier you said if it cracks, it's not going to adhere to the substrate. Yes and no. Alright, I think we're okay. Gotta let this dry 100% before we move on, so we're gonna let it dry, and I'll see you in just a little bit. Okay, so everything is dried. It's about exactly what I thought was going to happen. I got some nice cracks here and here and here. Not too many, just enough. And I know, you're like, well, you said it, but if it cracks, it won't adhere. Yes, and yes, this is going to adhere because this is not cracked to the substrate. This is just a surface crack. And I actually forced a little bit with a hairdryer to make it really crack where I wanted it to crack, but again, gotta learn the materials, learn how to use them, all that good stuff. And then you can start having fun breaking the rules once you understand how the materials work. Okay, so we're now something totally different. Usually you see me finish these off with waxes. I'm going to be using a brand new product. It's an acrylic top coat. It's not a wax. It's not a varnish. It's a pasty consistency, and they come in several colors from the factory. This is obviously the violet. This is the blue. Both of those colors actually have metallic in them, so it's a metallic violet and a metallic blue. Look how thick this stuff is, all right? Super thick. And then we're going to finish off with the copper. Now, I haven't used them in a while, so I got to refresh myself a little bit. So what I'm going to do is start off with some purple. I'm sorry, violet. There's a rag. Again, using my spatula, a clean spatula. Same way we just did everything else. We're going to take the spatula and lay it down. Now this does have a, don't pull it on too thick. It's very thin in consistency. It kind of, if I had to say any, compared to something, it'd be like wax, but it's more like gelatinous than wax. It's kind of like cottage cheese consistency. So let's just start off here and just, the reason I'm not using wax is because wax won't build up like I want it to get this effect. And I'm going to kind of just press it in there a little bit. I want it to get down into those crevices. Now, again, it does dry fairly quickly. You don't have a lot of time to do certain things, but don't get crazy. It's not like it's the end of the world. Because, I mean, you know, we're not trying to do this giant whole thing like we're a little bit too much on there. Not the end of the world. Just the same way. And you're like, well, why didn't you just use plaster to create that effect? Because this is transparent. So you're able to see through this as it dries, even as you're working with it and once it's dry. So you're creating that look of layers and depth. Wax can do the same thing, but this is just a little bit more interesting. Because it's not, yeah, you can see it. See through there? I like it. Gives it that fun stuff to create. Alright, let's jump to the next color. Let's go into the blue. Now it comes tint, again, factory tinted, so you don't have to get, you can get a clear base and tint it yourself. That's the blue. Nice. Trying to get in on the spot. And a lot of just, we're going to be playing back and forth, jumping around. Okay, that's enough of that color. Does it? A little bit goes a long way. Staying pretty fluid today. I got a lot of time to work with this. I like that. Now this is just straight up copper. Is this the copper? Bronze. The nice thing that it stays fairly wet. Again, you can get the base itself and make your own if you want, using these pigments, universal colorants. I'm trying to remember. I know it's purple, jade. There's purple, blue, green. Green is the jade. It's very pretty. There's a red. There's all kinds of fun colors. I'm trying to remember. I'll put all the links down below. Whoops. There we go. I don't want it too heavy up in there. Okay. I'll let that sit for a few minutes, come back, and then finish it off. Okay. So I let this set up a little bit. I'm going to finish it off with just a straight, again, it's the acrylic top coat, and this is the white, just white. There's no metallic to this, it's just straight white. So I'm going to come back and help bury some of this other stuff we did a little bit. Meaning, I want to bet, there's white underneath of it, so I want to put a little white on top of it. So we have that fun look. It's kind of like bringing some of it back to the top a little bit. So we're sandwiching it in between. I could even jump back into the plaster if I wanted to and use the white Venetian to punch it up for a little more, because it's a little more opaque. I think I might do that. Where did I put that product? Right here. Let's see what we get. Because the white's a little too transparent, so I'm starting to lose some of it. Not necessarily lose it, but let's see what this does. Whoopsie. Doesn't like sticking. There we go. Let it dry 100%. We're going to come back and see what it's set up a little bit. Now what I want to do is come back with some of my blue Venetian plaster of the Grisello. See, now you got me saying it by the wrong term. And just kind of adding a little bit more blue to the top. That's the beauty of it. If it was wax, it'd be really hard to do this because nothing likes to stick to the wax. So these acrylic top coats are nice because they give us all this flexibility to do this fun stuff. This is a very busy wall. Very busy. So be super careful. It can get out of control quick. Meaning, you can get too busy. Too much glue there. Let's back this off a hair. That's the other good thing about these things. You can just keep going and going and going, meaning you get layering and layering and layering, building and building and building. Sorry, I'm looking down as I'm working and getting things. All right, I want to go back to some white Venetian. So you see, it's kind of, you can keep playing with this stuff so much. It's like, keep going and going and going. Ah, dang it. Didn't want that to happen. No big deal, don't panic, just take it, start over. Just like we did. I want to get some more white to finish it off, and that should tie it all together. My trowel's too big. I want to get some more white around the top, and I think we'll call it good. All right, because this needs to be a little heavier up here. That way it looks like it's deteriorating as it comes down, or water it away. Let's pull tape, see what we got here. A little clean rag. Get my hands a little clean. Now, once this is 100% dry, you can do other things. You can always come back and wax it if you want to get that luster to it, that warm glow of the wax. You can change anything at any given time. You don't have to do each individual step. You can leave some things out. Let's see what we got. See all that fun, crazy stuff happening on there? Not for everybody. Meaning some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it. It's like anything. There's so many different ways to do different things. You know, I could come back. I'm still wanting to see some more white. Just in like... I mean, I could just keep going. It's one of those finishes you can just keep going and going and going. The acrylic top coats, let's back up a second. Clean up with soap and water. They're interior, exterior. So that's a nice thing. And then what else? You can tint your own. Any way you want. Make any color you imagine with the base. That's it. I think This is one of those you could just keep going. You gotta know when to say stop, or else you'll... It's therapeutic just to keep just floating colors into it. There you have it. All right, waterfalls. What they call it in the classes. Let's see if you can get a better look. See all the fun happening in there? There you have it. Sorry, I gotta see what it looks like there. It's hard to, this one's a tough one to see how it looks on that camera. But that's it. Simple, simple. Let it dry 100%. Put it in somebody's house, tell them to wait a few days before you do anything, and they can hang on top. Whatever, if they decide to hang something over it, that's fine. The only thing I like the copper undertones poking through in those bronzes that gives it that little pop. But that's pretty much it. Let it dry 100%. Be done with it. Hang it up. All right, my name is Ron Lehman. I'm from the Faux School in Frederick, Maryland. I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Please go to the website, thefauxschool.com. There you can get a list of all the classes I offer, and if you want to hire me, you can commission me to do a project. I travel all around the world. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.